Thanks for joining us for today's Elko Live here on KELK. It's Wednesday in advance of the regular Elko County Commission meeting, and we're pleased to welcome in studio Jon Karr, our Elko County Commissioner, and one of our two commissioners who participate regularly in this broadcast, and we really appreciate that, Jon. And we should start with the news that, congratulating you. You are seeking re-election unopposed. That has to feel pretty good.
Well, I was joking with you that, and sorry, I have a little bit of a cold, so my voice is a little bit off. I was joking with you that is it congratulations or I'm sorry? So I don't know, but yes, I guess we're stuck with me for another 4 years.
Well, actually, if you analyze that politically, it does say a lot about the work that you're doing, because your seat would be the one that could be most easily challenged, if you will, because it's, within the city, right? So there'd be plenty more people that would be stepping up if they wanted to challenge you. In the rural,
there should be, but yeah, I guess
there you go.
I am.
There you go. In the outlying communities, of course, sometimes it's more difficult. I think it's the county's own statistic where they say 66% of Elko County's population is on either side of State Route 227, the Moyle Summit. So that tells you something. And
then we have our 3 contingents on one of our most rural positions. So it's kind of wild.
It is. It's something to consider for the future, obviously. So, Jon, moving ahead, we want to look at today's agenda, which is for April 3rd, revisiting a couple of items of which you are firmly on top of, and that does include the school district capital funding, because that was approved, and that allows the school district now to move forward with their funding mechanism.
Well, first I wanted to go over the county courthouse complex that I was just talking to you about before we came on the air. I may have taken it wrong, but I had the impression that I wasn't being very open and honest with the public, or very transparent, I think was the wording. So my comments are very, very simple. Well, how should we be doing this then? I've said for the last 6 years the courthouse needs to be done. So we go to an architectural firm after we pick one, give us a concept of the whole complex, and we accepted that as a commission. That report, we didn't approve it as in proceed with it. We simply accepted it. They did their job. They did a courthouse complex. And yeah, I don't remember top of my head, 75, 80 million, whatever it was. But that was for a total remodel of everything from IT, judicial center. That was the whole cup of tea on that whole complex. And one thing I was upset about on a different jump, that Amanda, I told her we need to be able to have the bond numbers as well. So we have this as a whole thing. What's it going to take? Well, between you and I, and we'll tell the whole public, she refused to do it until the whole commission asked for it. And so then we asked for it, and so then we got that back. We did not go out for a bond. We went out for information on what it would take to bond. So now that we have the bond information and we accept that report, and that's all we've done, we've accepted 2 reports. So now Commissioner Gerber and I and Amanda sat down, started chopping off the grand report, because it is big, complex, and it's grand. What could we do here? All right, let's cut this, let's cut that, and start chopping some things and how we could move some things. So now the architect's going to come back with that as their report, and it chops about 15-20 million off the proposal. And then we'll work with once again the commission and some judges and all that, and finalize it, and then be able to present it to the public and go, what do you think? And then if we decide to go out to bond, or we decide to save up, or we decide, this doesn't work anyway, forget the whole idea, or whatever. But I don't know how much more transparent or present to the public. I don't know how else to do it than that way. I really don't.
Well, Jon, thank you. And I appreciate your comments, and also understand the frustration too, being on this end of the microphone sometimes. I think that sometimes when we are suggesting that government could be more transparent, it might be as a whole, and there are certain other issues that are going on. I mean, it could be both city and county government as well, but certainly the idea of building a whole justice complex, I think in the past the city has probably done it differently, and maybe that's why that there are questions. If you had a big meeting at the convention center and said, what do we need in a courthouse complex, right? Because you're right, this was a big presentation. So, and it seems to take up 2 or 3 blocks. There's a lot of parking, things like that.
Well, once we decide more on that idea, we want to have big community, whether it be the convention center, whether it be on the property itself. I don't know how barbecue luncheons, I don't know how quite to present it, but no, we intend to do that and go, this is what we're hoping to do. And we do want your thoughts. But I don't want to have the grand one, because that's not what we're building yet. We already know that was a great if we had more money than we knew what to do with, then that's what we would do. We don't have that. So we want to pare it down, and this is kind of what now we're proposing. So that's where we're at.
Okay. So I think in fairness in the future, suggesting things like, this is the grand scheme, this is the pie in the sky, this is if we had all the money we wanted, this is what we would do, making references like that, John, and then giving the public too a little more opportunity to participate in that, because we hear from the community all the time, there's plenty of parking, there's not enough parking. I can't believe some of the meetings that the county has. Last week, I think, or last regular meeting, the county, wasn't it almost a 2-hour presentation on whether or not we should hand count ballots? That was kind of out of control, honestly.
I'm not very open on, well, how do I rephrase this? I'm not in agreement with the hand counting because I personally took part in the audit here, and I know ours is secure and follows the law. And there might be mistakes on the state website that if you said you received a mail ballot and it says you sent in a mail ballot, there still is some irregularities on how it reads that, but that has nothing to do with ballots themselves.
It didn't affect the count at all.
The count and
right.
all that is double checked by our clerk, by state clerk, and even myself as other commissioners, we took part in the audit. So that baloney about Dominion machines and all that, and it's unfortunate, and I don't want to criticize Wildy, but he let the meeting get out a little bit of control. When you're hearing things like, well, Nye County did a hand count. No, they did not. Nye County had paper ballots that you could fill out and then still went through a Dominion machine counter, just like if you mailed in your ballot or you showed up and dropped it off the mailbox or whatever. That's the same thing. That's not hand counted. So that was all baloney that they were saying. It was total BS. And so we spent an hour arguing over stuff that's not even remotely true. Nye County did not have a hand count ballot. They did not.
I think that's probably what that frustration comes from, John. And again, that, you're expressing your feelings about that, but we might let a couple dozen people hold a meeting hostage for almost 2 hours and talking about an issue that, as you said, that's full of false representation. There was a man who's running for county commission, and he was reading from his phone about how he doesn't trust computers. And he's reading from his phone about how he doesn't trust technology.
I was rather disappointed in how that was verbatim off of his phone.
And we had,
I thought we were a Biden teleprompter going on, but
well, and we do. We have another person opposing the county clerk, and she was given a platform to espouse her, opinions. So that's where I think some of this conversation comes in, John. And so it's not directed at you. It's just frustration in general with the county. Why we would let some of these issues. Why in the world would the county, people in this county want to support hand counting ballots? It could take days to do it.
Well, here's what I've been working with clerk on. Go, fine. Let's. I could be totally wrong. You could be totally wrong. Maybe it's effective to hand count. I don't think it is, but fine. Let's do a hand count trial run.
And they're going to do that.
So we are printing off, I don't know the number, Becky and I work together. Let's say it's 1,000 ballots. I don't know, whatever it is, 1,000 ballots. And we're going to have these volunteers. And I hope these people show up. Because if they don't, then I'm not going to be nice in a meeting. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be, because we're doing this for you. So then if you don't even show up to participate, that's not fair. I want you here. And this is totally fair. This is how the state law says. You have 4 people at a table. You have to count your 25. You have to tally it. The next person takes those 25s, tally it, and they compare those 2 tally sheets.
And look at all the human error.
We're going to do this and see if it works. And I could be totally wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'll be on this radio show saying I was wrong. We can do this. But no, we're going to give it 100% fair trial run. I just hope these naysayers show up, but not sit at home saying, nope, see, it don't work, but then don't show up. One of the things that infuriated me was, well, how come you weren't at the audit, the last one 2 years ago or 4 years ago?
Right.
Well, we know the machines that day would actually act correctly, so I didn't bother. What kind of comment do you say to that?
Right. So
anyway, we're going to hold this because I want to be fair, open-minded, and we're going to try a trial run of, and how long it takes. I personally don't have the attention span to sit there and count 25 for 6 hours.
What do we have? Something like 20,000, or how many ballots do we have cast in 2020? I can't
It was
remember.
under 8. It was 8. It was under 9. It was 8,000 something.
Right.
Which is disappointing. We should be focused on that. Why aren't more people voting?
Right. Well, good call. Let's work on that. We have a few months, right?
Well, whether you agree with the Democrats on the mail ballots or not, that's now state law. I can't change it. That's not an Elko County thing. That's state law. And if you agree or not, the Democrats are very good at calling up and say, hey, I see that you haven't mailed in your ballot yet based on the state law and being on the website that's saying, yes, you've already early voted. Can I come help you? They can't say how you voted, but they can say if you voted. They're 10 times better at it, so they rally the troops and come vote. In my mind, Republicans seem to be a little more conservative and stick to themselves, like we can do independent. There's the word I'm looking for, more independent. So they don't ever do that. Well, then they wonder why they get their butt kicked to the vote. It's not cheating. That's the law. And so they get more people to vote.
There you go.
That's my opinion.
Well, Jon Karr is our county commissioner, and you don't have to worry about the results of the election personally going forward, which is nice, so that you can focus on maybe helping, as you said, just remind people of the significance of voting and participating in this audit that's coming up, because our county clerk, Becky Plunkett's office, is already super busy, and they're going to conduct this audit because they want to restore confidence in at least the local election process, if not the statewide or the national vote. So
I hope the people that are kind of the naysayers at the moment are open-minded, that if this doesn't work, they don't still then nope, have to still ballot. Well, you tried it. But now if it does work, I'm telling you right now, I will be on this radio saying, nope, it worked, and maybe we really need to reconsider it. I have to be open-minded myself.
all right, Jon, thank you. So swirling back over to the Justice Complex, the latest on that is that, so we're clear, some bond information did come back, and Elko County would not be able to bond for, with the current distribution of our property tax, the full amount that would be needed for the entire Justice Complex, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And I should have brought that with me, but it was like 40 or 50 million.
I think it's 40.
And it's like at 10 years at $5 million a year, or 15 years at, once again, $5.5 million a year for the payments. So and once again, we did not go out to bond. All we did was go to bond counsel, so we had that information to what would it take. Just like you and I, if we want to go buy a car, well, what's the payment going to be? So that's all we did. We have not signed anything. We have not agreed to anything. We're not now. There you go. That's where we're at. So no, we are re-looking at the whole complex to see really, or that old building, the old library that's now the public defender's office. Do we need to demolish that? Do we need to remodel it? Do we whatever? So that was just a scope to look at now.
I think, Jon, too, the thing that really jumped out for me, especially during the recent meeting, is do we have county employees who are being made sick because they're working in the basement? I mean, that's something to pay attention to.
Obviously, I can't say that yes, they are or they're not. They made a comment in a meeting. They called it
Justice Court
flu or something like that.
Yeah, that's very serious.
No, we have 3 quotes for HVAC companies to start bringing fresh air down in there. So many things happen. The county for years and years and years was truly underfunded, and everybody says they're underfunded. No, the county really was. They had a very small percentage of the property tax, and more stuff got dumped down them on the state. Everything from the fire district to more judges to just whatever it was got dumped on us. But previous commissions never raised any more funds, never raised taxes, never did anything. Well, the courthouse was a prime example of we never had any long-term how to expand, how to whatever. Well, they started getting more security concerns, so they started saying, no, we need bulletproof glass or you can't be opening the windows. So all the gals and the offices and whoever down in the basement couldn't open the windows. So they did those mini split systems. Then they're very good for heating and cooling, but they just move the air that's already in here, heating and cooling. They don't move any air. They don't clean any air, whatever. So that's where we're at. And nobody finally really went, wait a minute, what are we doing here? We need at least some exchange, 10%, 20%. I'm not an HVAC engineer, but I'm going to guess you need at least 15, 20% exchange rate. So that's what we're looking at now, putting in some ducting that will at least change out that air, more filtration. And I don't remember off the top of my head, so please, I'm going to say 200,000 to 300,000, but I could be way off of that number. But it's not millions by any stretch.
Okay, so that it's important to note that I mean, is it a priority for the county? Would you say, John?
For me, no. I was rather upset that for that comment to be made in a public meeting. Wait a minute. If there's any truth to this, what are we doing? Why aren't we doing something?
Yeah, that was pretty startling.
I don't want our employees coming up and going, oh, don't worry, this is the normal 2-week winter flu season because we can't open the doors. Wait, what? No. So it's bumped very, very far up on the priority list.
Okay, John, thank you for explaining that. I think that was, and we only have a half an hour to talk about all these issues. That's why we actually really give the county every single Wednesday. I know the city takes every Tuesday, and you and I have talked about this, Commissioner Andriozzi, and you come in regularly. We have some county departments who come in. We appreciate them very much for doing that, John. But there's always so much that's going on and changing, so we want to get you to your meeting downtown on time, too.
Well, I didn't have time last Wednesday. We were starting to open up Ruby View, the golf course restaurant. So
yes, no, that was great.
That is, no, that's tough. It's because it's so weather dependent. Rick will be, nope, we're closed. It snowed. Nope, we're open. Where's your bartender? So, no, it's very, very hit and miss. And I don't blame him because the fluke Easter 6 inches of snow, obviously, we're not going to have a lot of orange balls golfing that day.
Right.
So,
I think they're going to go bust out those eggs at 1 o'clock. So if you're headed over to the park, go get some Easter eggs, right?
They were at Vogue cooking them. They use the geothermal up there to cook the eggs every year.
Isn't that cool? They have these giant vats they put them in. It's it's pretty.
First year I'm going, why is everybody in my driveway? What the heck's going on here? And walked up, I'm like, oh.
They're dying.
Look at that.
They're helping the Easter Bunny. Yes.
There you go.
Yes. Talking with our Commissioner Jon Karr. Again, the regular county meeting is at 1:30 this afternoon. We looked
have
over.
a fire board.
Oh, thank you. That's right. I've got the agenda for that. That's primarily the budget, right? And that meeting is going to be at 1:15? Okay. We do need to get you out of here on time. So let's see. Oh, we did open up. Do you want to say anything about the school capital fund? Because it seems like folks are pretty happy with
20 cents. I'm going to be working with the other cities, the TV district, and actually even with the school district. Now they need to start putting some of their general fund into it, buying out teachers. And this has nothing to do with yes or no and buying them out. I'm saying if you have that kind of capital, be buying them out, but you don't have any capital money. Okay, you need to relook at your budget here. That's just a fact. That's not an emotional state. That's not a teachers deserve it or not. You have to start budgeting some of your own money into capital. It's just a fact. So we're going to work with on that. But supposedly last night they had a meeting, and I haven't had a chance to watch it, that they were going to more in-depth prioritize their capital projects. But I didn't get a chance to. I just talked briefly with Matt McCarty about it.
All right. So
I don't know. So I'll have to watch that meeting later.
Yeah, we'll dip back into that. And C.J. Anderson, the superintendent, comes on Thursday next. It's early. I think it's next Thursday. So you're right. We'll get more information about that school fund and how they plan to spend that and prioritize it going forward.
But I also want to work with them on the track. I think sometimes Elko and stuff realizes, because one of the things they're talking about in this event center that was brought up, we talked to a guy that's in Fallon, their event center, and it's how many youth activities are actually held, like state wrestling. Obviously, at an event center, state track's not held, but for us not to be able to hold state track here because our all-weather track is dilapidated. Okay, so I'm hoping we work with the school district to bump that up on the priority. Normally, outside playground stuff, and I'm just doing that in quotes, playground stuff, is not a top of the priority, but something like that actually does even bring economics to the community. How many schools show up and bust kids and parents and everything to watch state track? It's actually a big deal. And so we really should be looking at more state tournaments, whether it be basketball, volleyball, wrestling, whatever. There's actually big money in it, but it's also good for a community, just that spirit.
Since you brought up Event Center, it is on the county agenda today for the meeting at 1:30. There's a presentation on the Boys and Girls Club Event Center. It's an update from Rusty Barr regarding the progress of the Boys and Girls Club Event Center project, for which Elko County has obligated $15 million in support.
So that is no longer located by the fairgrounds. It would have been where the fields are at. And that's obviously not where the discussion now of why or how or whatever. The rec center is now going to be located pretty close to where the pool is at, and it was supposed to be up by Herrera Fields. But since that has moved, I requested this to be back on the agenda item because in my view, it's a total different project. So,
And the county needs money right now.
we do. And so I want us to review this project and go, okay, where's it at now? Because it's not there. And so we're not even taking it as an action item. We're just reviewing that. So we're going to be asking more, we want business model numbers, review like Fallon does with theirs, and what really is this whole project look like now that it's way out there, and review that if we're going to approve it or not. This is not an action item today, so we won't say yay or nay on 15 million. This is just a presentation to then request more information and see if we still want to do that or not.
And the word obligated is actually possibly misused because, whether or not the money is actually formally obligated, I don't know.
No, we do not have any formal agreements. It was just basically we like the idea of it as it was in the old concept, and we approved that 15 million. That was ARPA funding and some other grant money. It was not part of this property tax money or increment that's come in, and using that towards a big project. And that was approved to set that aside as that. But since it's totally different, we want to receive all that information. But no, there's no signed obligation that we're writing a check tomorrow or none of that.
All right. So the city, I guess just in tangent with that, the city of Elko has been waiting rather patiently. There was supposed to be a groundbreaking last month on the city swimming pool and rec center. That would be a conjoined project there on the site of the existing city pool. And Boys and Girls Clubs has not made a presentation. They have not updated the city council. Again, groundbreaking was supposed to be last month on the city pool, which is a separate project. So hopefully this presentation today, as you said, non-action item, will be informative and let the public know where Boys and Girls Clubs are on, the city pool project, because taking on an event center.
Right. So I think we're months away from taking that on the event center, really, because the rec center is still the priority in getting that done.
Rec center, swimming pool, right?
Correct. We as the county are not involved, but I'm involved more on the geothermal side because of my knowledge of that and what they're doing.
And that's good, and that could help the entire city. And I do think it's important just to revisit the reason the county is not helping to build or fund a swimming pool is because Delmo, I think, put it best at the time during the ARPA distribution that then it was pretty apparent that every community would come to Elko County and say, we'd like a pool, and those are very expensive to build and very expensive to maintain. That was Delmo's idea.
Correct.
That's why he didn't want to commit to building pools in cities.
Correct. I wouldn't be opposed to us helping a little bit on that geothermal line because it's school and this rec thing, and it is
helps the college,
an energy positive thing, but we haven't been asked on that, and I haven't looked into it yet.
I think the city, whether or not the city's deeply involved, but I think the school district is in talks with Boys and Girls Clubs because obviously everybody needs everybody at this point, John. So we all need to work together. That's important. So thank you for the update. Again, that'll be on the agenda for the Boys and Girls Club. That's item G. And then other things that budget is on here, and the budget is, we heard some remarks from Delmo Andriozzi during the budget meeting that was last week. He's a member. There are just two commissioners. Rex is on that, and Delmo. And quoting Delmo, he said it's going to be a challenging season and that there's going to be some fine-tuning needed, some potential offsets, and that maybe some of the legacy funding needs to be reined in, as he described.
I haven't looked that much on it, so that's been Rex and Delmo, and I'll hear more on it today.
So that'll be presented again. Now, the county fiscal officer, Susan, she does a great job in her presentation. By the way, I have to say this is.
No. Everybody goes, oh, everybody does a great job. No, Susan actually does.
She really
do an actually amazing job. Very clear, very transparent. This is what it is, and it can get confusing when they start talking about depreciation and weird costs, and they get into this weird cloud thing. No, she's very clear on the numbers, and this is where we're at.
It's very straightforward, and each category is named from operating, to general fund, to indigent, to ag extension, to juvenile, library budgets, road construction fund, which we heard, diesel. So gasoline taxes are flat, and then diesel tax, I think, goes to the state. I don't know that we're getting that through it goes to RTC, so it doesn't go to the county's fund. So road fund will be on here, construction, any special revenue, RTC, as we just talked about. I mean, it's all very plainly laid out, so it looks like a great presentation that will be made. during this afternoon's county meeting on the budget. So one thing, there is an agenda item about maybe how to alleviate these outages that lead to 911. And had you heard anything about the possible cause of that outage, John?
I just heard that the fiber line was dug up. And to me, and this is total, I could be totally wrong, I thought it was an Anthem fiber line that was dug up, but Frontier is the one who does our phones up there, so I'm not quite sure the correlation. Either way, part of our E911 capital budgeting was switching to fiber, but also having a secondary. And so we're in the process of doing that. It's just unfortunate this happened as well.
Yeah, we're also looking into this. It's hard to get answers, but what we understand is that Anthem's Glass Roots, which I think is a subcontractor of Anthem, that they cut Frontier's cable, but that this is also the second time in 2 months that they've done this.
There you go. You know more than I do on it. Basically, I've been talking to Lee Cabinets going, well,
trying to confirm
why
all
don't
of
we
this.
also have like an AT&T or Verizon backup or something? I don't know. We're looking at all of that, or a second fiber company in there. But no, it's embarrassing, but it's even worse we'd have been if it hadn't done the improvements we've done in the last 3 years.
Absolutely, yeah. So we did have at least some redundancy in the system. So, John, anything else before I know that today's agenda, again, there's...
No, the Pineley should be a little mellow. I should get out of there before 5.
Yeah, or 6 or 7. There's one sort of odd, and it will likely go through because of the way the commission is weighted, something supporting a pilot project for a wild horse fire brigade. And I've been reading up on that. I did know. The same.
I'll make my conversations at the meeting, but I don't know. It seems still what's the cliche, jumping in bed with the devil or something, or I don't know, but
I don't know. Mr. Simpson, William Simpson, he wants to take 1,000 horses from Nevada, rewilding them to the forest of the Northwest. He says, quoting this attachment on the agenda, that he's owned and managed a herd of wild horses in the mountains of the Oregon-California border. Well, first of all, if they are his personal horses, they're not wild horses by the federal designation. So, yeah. So anyway, it's just always interesting that we end up with these things on our agenda. The Lands Council Chairman Dimar Dahl says the horses on our ranges are now actually feral horses. Well, Mr. Dahl, where's the science on that? Is there any DNA testing done on that? Is that just...
Well, they are feral. There's no wild horses.
Well,
there's no DNA that says wild. They are feral.
It's like you said, though. We have to deal with the classifications that are given us, and that's what the federal government,
right.
The Wild Horse and Burro Act 1972 dictates. So we can't say, here, take 1,000 wild horses, and how do the people that live in the forest of the Pacific Northwest feel about that? So.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. I think we should truck them down to New York or San Francisco.
That would make more of an impression if you let them loose in Central Park, to be honest.
It actually would.
See what they do.
And you'd be surprised how many are big funders
range.
from New York, Florida, and California for protecting wild horse, because I've never seen them.
Right. Oh, boy. So anyway, we don't have the answers either, John, but it's just these things end up on the agenda and they just chew up a lot of time, and we have some serious issues that the county needs to consider, like, are the employees in the basement of the courthouse actually sick from the building? That's the number one, like you said. So thank you.
I will keep pushing that and see where we're at.
Anything else before we let you go downtown?
No, I'll pop some more halls and go sit in the meeting.
Thanks, listeners, for joining us. Commissioner Jon Karr, our guest today here on Elko Live on KELK. Commission meeting starts at, the Fire Protection District meeting, that'll start at 1:15, followed by the County Commission meeting. Thank you for joining us for today's program.